presentació. Sí, sí.
Bon dia a tothom. Us donem la benvinguda a aquesta segona jornada de la Time Use Week, que, com sabeu, va arrencar ahir amb l'objectiu de debatre i de compartir idees, experiències i reflexions sobre com podem assolir una organització del temps més sostenible, corresponsable i eficient en relació
responsible, which has to do with politics of time. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Barcelona Time Use Initiative because in their involvement in terms of organization, they have made this week possible, which I'm sure will be very, very useful to all of us. From here, I'd also like to express my gratitude to the other institutions, public and private, which participate and cooperate. It is a great pleasure for me to be here representing DIPLOCAT and the upshot of a project which has lasted the whole year, organized by DIPLOCAT and the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for a Healthy Society. At the beginning of 2020, we really started to design, to ponder, to contemplate this cooperation, which we have organized and which has been implemented this year. The purpose in mind was to widen and facilitate the exchange of good practices or best practices between Catalan municipalities and European ones, and foster the implementation via public policies. For those who could not follow us, this joint project consisted in the organization of an international cycle of municipal practice in terms of time use policy, and that took place during May and June. The three if you like, items which were dealt with from a theoretical point of view, and but also with a looking at case studies and exchange of experiences. I'll mention the subjects, the three subjects, which were not chosen at random. They were the result of a long reflection on the future of the urban agenda, which are being built, and also relevant subjects concerning time. So the first session dealt with the sustainable economic recovery post COVID-19, and when it came to exchange of good practices, we had people from the municipalities of Barcelona, Budapest, Solsona, and Bolzano. The second session dealt with the city 50 minutes away and sustainable mobility, and there were representatives from this municipalities of Paris and Milan, and a representative of the metropolitan area of Barcelona. And the third one dealt with chronobiology applied to our daily lives, with representatives from municipalities of Argentona, Girona, and a representative of Rennes Métropole. The summary and conclusions from this cycle by downloading it from which you can find amongst the documentation given to you at the beginning of the session, and you got the QR code, and you'll find it in the DIPLOCAT webpage. And if you wish to, and if you also go to the DIPLOCAT website, and you'll see our YouTube channel. Please do it when you finish, and you'll find all the sessions there. Well, and after having sort of put you in context, allow me to tell you that some of you will say, well, what is DIPLOCAT doing here? Why are we organizing this kind of activities? Well, the answer is simple, and you'll find in our mission statement, which is there to promote international dialogue and this exchange of experiences. So areas of conversations and dialogue between, if you like, the civil society of Catalonia and other parts of the world, and we facilitate exchange of people, projects, and ideas. Those of you who may not know, DIPLOCAT is a very plural body. It is a consortium which includes 38 entities, including most of the main public entities in Barcelona, including its universities, public and private, other academic centers, business schools, and business organizations, trade unions, and sporting bodies. And when it comes to the local fabric, they are a key pillar of DIPLOCAT. Amongst them, we have the 4 provincial, if you like, entities, the General Council of Aran, and the City Council of Barcelona, Girona, Lleida, Tarragona, and Viella, and the 2 municipal bodies of Catalonia. That is why, in many of the activities which we carry out, we attempt to, if you like, dwell upon this municipal, if you like, bias angle. We have a series of specific working groups which mark objectives and purpose of our activities. We always center ourselves on exchange of international experiences with Catalonia, and as often as possible, with the help of our members and other civil society organizations. And thus, one of the first working groups or task groups was the working group of local and municipal bodies, always with this international bias. And today, one of the activities that this 2021 plan was the cycle of good municipal practices in use of time, the conclusion of which we are presenting. In the last years, we have managed to situate time use as on the citizens' agenda, on the agenda of public opinion, and also in most of public institutions. But the local bodies have historically led the implementation of policies which have to do with time. The municipality is, if you like, at the front line of citizens' lives, and it is the municipal world which has this capacity to transform, change, and enhance citizens' lives. This is an example of the relevance of this debate in Catalonia, is the setting up and the existence of the Barcelona Time Use Initiative for Healthy Society, and the recent setting up, this is for the first time, of a Directorate General of Time Use Organization and Care, and this has the aim of reaching a more egalitarian society. The common purpose, is to breathe life into time changes which will put us on the same footing as the rest of Europe, to be able to achieve more rational and healthy timetables. And why do we wish to do that? Well, because this movement is not just happening here in Catalonia, but at a European level. There's also a debate on new ways of organizing and regulating working times to extend teleworking. And after the pandemic in this field, which is given a huge fillip, and discussions like as the 4-day working week or digital disconnection, which are also being dealt with during the Time Use Week. The report which we have shown comes at a moment of change, where the consequences, the knock-on effects of COVID-19 are making us take a long, hard look at how we live and how we do things, many of them which are related to the use of time. We find ourselves at a crucial moment when it comes to redirect policies of time use in organizations and public administrations via redefining spaces and timetables. And that is a different reason to foster debates such as this one. And DIPLOCAT is firmly committed to go hand in hand with Catalan civil society and the members of the DIPLOCAT consortium who wish to be present at an international level, be it to contribute to the main challenges and global debates, or to foster areas of exchange and cooperation exchanging good practice with other regions, other countries or cities of the world, to also share the reality of our country, because there are many pioneering initiatives which can be exported and exchanged, or to find areas where we can cooperate between the various bodies. Having said that, I'd like to wish all of you excellent working day and a fruitful work. And now Ariadna Gu and Eva Garcia will present the conclusions of the report. Eva Garcia Chueca, who moderated the second part, talking about the sustainable mobility and and she works at the CIDOB from 2011 to 2018. She was a researcher at the Social Studies Center, University of Coimbra in Portugal, and in 2015-2016, she integrated the policy unit on the right to the city and the city for all of the United Nations. There were 20 experts from all over the world who wished to, if you like, evaluate the setting up of the new urban agenda adopted by Habitat 3. From 2007 to 2014, she was executive coordinator of the Commission for Social Inclusion, Participatory Democracy and Human Rights in the Global Network Citizen and Local Governments. In this sense, she set up the Observatory of Inclusive Cities. Ariadna Gu has dedicated a professional career to improve the setting up or the implementation of public policies in different areas, and she has been working for the past 9 years in different areas. She's also worked for the European Commission and international bodies such as the UN. From 2019, she's coordinator of the Barcelona Time Use Initiative of Healthy Society, and she has been working to implement time use policies in Catalonia and throughout the world. I'd like to thank both of them for their work and for being here, and I'll hand over to Ariadna Gu. Thank you, Laura, for the presentation and for highlighting the relevance of these meetings and of the report, which wouldn't have been possible without the help of Ariadna Gu. And as co-coordinator of the Barcelona Time Use Initiative, I'd like to reaffirm the value added of this cooperation with these two institutions, which has led to these encounters and this report, and which is available to anybody who wishes to read it when we finish the session. As Laura was saying, this cycle has allowed us to share experiences, good practices between municipalities who have implemented them. And let me highlight the diversity of people who have been involved in these encounters. You mentioned who was involved, but there are large cities, Paris, Barcelona, Budapest. We had representatives from metropolitan areas, also the one of Barcelona, the Rennes. We had medium-sized cities such as Girona, such as Milan, Argentina, Solsona. So we had a very large diversity, and all of them were interested in implementing these time use policies. And I do think it is interesting to see how we can implement initiatives such as this from many viewpoints, from many different situations. Furthermore, we have researchers such as Eva and people from the field of chronobiology and local officials, very important, because we also include the network of French cities for time use initiatives, and also other bodies or the network of cities for a reform of time use. And we have attempted to, if you like, bring together all these elements, because it shows that this is a cross-cutting, if you like, diversity. There are certain common points. Let me highlight two. The importance of the participation of public, of the citizens, and the need to bring on board citizens in all our endeavors. And there were different ways in which citizens could participate. And it is a lesson which must be borne in mind for all of those of us who wish to implement policies of this nature. Secondly, the need to measure the success of these policies, to evaluate them, and to evaluate how things go. For instance, their pilot project, which is a very useful way and less costly to see whether something is working or not, and fine-tune it if necessary. Although theoretical policy is useful, when it comes to praxis, we always have to sort of, if you like, tweak things. And that is why evaluation, monitoring, looking is key. We are here to explain the conclusions. Sorry, anyway, and we had 15 minutes to do that. And it's very useful. We have Eva, who is a researcher of global cities in the CIDOB, International Research Center in Barcelona, and how we can move forward. I do apologize, I have an allergy this morning. And I'd like to overlook the global conclusion. I won't dwell into detail. In a sense, so I would like to ask, what are the points which fit into a global agenda? Well, I'd like to first of all to thank you for including the CIDOB for the discussion that took place in spring, and now when it comes to this Congress, it's a real pleasure to form part of this reflection process on time use policies. And your question, well, we have seen that during the pandemic there's a clear need to move forward in terms of time use policies. And if we look at the various debates which took place, we have become aware of that for two reasons. Number one, the pandemic has highlighted the central role of care when it comes to guarantee resilience of our societies, well-being, welfare, and also being able to conciliate work and the family. And the global crisis due to COVID-19 also coincided with another very large crisis, the climate crisis. And the policies of time there can bring many sustainable solutions to the fore. So, be it in relationship to care or to sustainability, the pandemic has highlighted that the question of time use policy is highly relevant, and we must deal with it now, face up to it now, and face up to its challenges. Now, when it comes to the cities, I would say that one of the proposals which has become very, very significant in during the pandemic, and that's one thing that appeared during the last spring's discussion, has been this issue of the city 50 minutes away. You've mentioned that. The 50-minute city is an idea which came from an architect in Colombia, Carlos Moreno, who urges us to rethink our cities and to modify the way they're organized. So they are in favor of setting up a series of facilities in the different neighborhoods to lead a fulsome life, and that these facilities should not be further away than 50 minutes away from where you are. So there should be a decentralization of facilities, of workplaces, and so on. And this proposal has also been looked at from a metropolitan angle. So now we're not just talking of the city at 15 minutes away, but also the metropolis of 30 minutes away. It is a proposal which is certainly not new, It links up with historical claims of feminism, which wanted a approximate body, also within the right to the city. There should be what we call polycentrism. So in different neighborhoods, we should be able to access services, facilities, and opportunities essential for your well-being. So it's not new, but during the pandemic, of course, that suddenly became urgent and took pride of place in the public agenda. And to refer to the conclusions of the spring session, which you will find in this report, and I told Diana, and I'd like to congratulate those who have drawn up the report, and I feel it's really a good read, worth reading. And what the report highlights is a 15-minute city does have different implications at different levels. Let me highlight three. Number one, when it comes to urban planning, very clear, very obvious. As I said, it says there should be access to services, facilities, and the world of work, which could take place in a polycentric fashion or a decentralized fashion. That does mandate us to rethink urban planning and how we can establish different services within the city, where we locate them. It also has implications second level, social cohesion, because the 50-minute city aims at recovering, if you like, life in the community, life in neighborhoods. And this does have a considerable potential to establish more relationships of a community nature in your neighborhood and so on. So this dimension of the 50-minute city linked to social cohesion is also very important. Something else, and this has also emerged in what has been said before, one of the clearest implications has to do with sustainable mobility. Because if you have everything you need close by, well, that will cut back your need to move around and will cut back pollution and emissions. So I would highlight these three areas which is the main feature of the 15-minute city, of this concept. And the issues which are closely linked to global agenda. You refer to the 2030 agenda, the key sustainability agenda. And so there's a clear alignment between the 2030 agenda and time use policies. And it is also linked to what we're looking at, a regional area, such as recovery funds, which will help us to give a big or breathe life into ecological transition, which is also linked, and so they're both interlinked. So be it with regional or global agenda, alignments are quite clear, and therefore it is a fine moment to put this subject on the agenda and make public opinion aware. It is essential to mobilize citizens, and we're at the right moment to move forward.
Thank you. Indeed, I take this idea of using the pandemic as a catalyst. Another conclusion from the report was how cities, towns are an excellent environment for time use policies. They are closest to the citizen. But at the same time, there comes a point where they don't have enough powers. They need support, therefore, from other stakeholders. We talked about large cities, which had played an important role, but also local, regional, and state parties, even international parties, which also have a role to play. So without a doubt, cities have a role to play in the international arena, but they do have limits to how much they can do. My question, therefore, would be, what role do you think local authorities have when it comes to fostering this type of initiatives on time use? Well, going back to the idea I mentioned earlier of the 15-minute city impact on sustainability, well, the closer things happen to the citizen, the least pollution there will be. Currently, 70% of emissions globally come from urban environments. Therefore, anything cities can do will have a huge impact on emissions because they are the big polluters. So local government's policies are extremely important in tackling global challenges. We've seen that. We could find plenty other examples, because if there's one thing that is clear from globalization is that global challenges, they do have a global effect, but they materialize at a local level. Therefore, any response, any reaction from the local environment will have an impact on global challenges. Most of the urban population lives nowadays in cities, so obviously local authorities and local agents are key. Now, what are cities doing in terms of time use policies? In the debates that took place last spring, represented in the report, we saw a wide range of initiatives, programs, projects. So plenty is being done in terms of time use policies at a local and urban level. I would highlight three, just to name a few. In terms of urban planning, the urban model is being revised, is being reviewed, trying to incorporate time as an element in planning, in urban planning. So citizens' use of time is being taken into account, is being factored in now when planning cities, in urban planning, really. So we speak of chronobiology. We can also now speak of chronoplanning when referring to urban planning. We are also seeing how many cities are giving different uses to urban spaces. The model we have inherited had a specific role assigned to each urban element. This maybe stems from Le Corbusier and his influence on modern time planning, but we are now seeing through these debates how if we want a 15-minute city, we need to think of spaces with multiple roles, which can have different uses at different times of day. So many cities are now reviewing their practices and trying to incorporate time as a factor in planning urban spaces. There has been a lot of talk on mobility as well, on sustainable mobility, active mobility, trying to change mobility infrastructure to make streets friendlier for citizens, also for bicycles, for cyclists, and also to try and connect different modes of transport, so that there are good transport connections, public transport connections, and cycling connections. A combination of cycling and public transport, for example, is something that many cities are focusing on. And finally, striking a new balance between work time and care time, and a fairer redistribution of care work, to try and mitigate this double workload, which affects mostly women. And I must say that in the audience, the highest percentage of people in the audience today are women, are female. So cities are doing a lot, but as you said, they cannot do everything. You mentioned how nowadays we are increasingly seeing how actions at a local level have a metropolitan flavor to them. Cities are getting bigger, are getting more populated. United Nations reports talk about megacities, region cities, urban corridors. So it is clear that there are urban patches, so to say, throughout the world, concentrating large amounts of population, large populations. So it is crucial here when thinking of time use policies that we keep in mind not just sector policies by sector, but which policies can provide answers to these challenges, the challenges posed by these large megacities. So multi-level governance policies are key. As you said, real cities do not necessarily fit in the boundaries, the physical boundaries or the administrative boundaries of the city. There have to be, therefore, spaces for metropolitan cooperation. And this requires dialogue with other levels of government. We should also keep in mind multiple party governance so that different stakeholders in the area, such as civil society, but also other stakeholders, like the private sector, why not, must be involved. The private sector has a huge responsibility to play in terms of corporate social responsibility. All those agents will help, or may help, local governments achieve their goals. Well, this is linked with the topic of this week, which is connecting research to different areas of society. This idea of multi-level governance and different bodies helping each other, whether they are organized by the physical areas or by the levels of government, etc. So we are trying to relaunch a network of cities to work on time use policies. And we are building upon all the experiences we have been developing. We can learn from each other, share good practices, and I think we saw that yesterday, that it is a very complex topic. Time use policies themselves are a complex topic, but also the multi-level government element is also quite complex. Therefore, it is crucial that we work as a network and that we are able to learn from each other and support each other moving forward. I'm just checking how we're doing for time. Since this week is all about time, let's make sure we keep time. So I'd just like to finish by stressing the importance of working together. I think, Eva, you've provided us with a fantastic summary of the key areas in which we need to work. Care, mobility, planning, extremely important areas when rethinking time use policies. And I do use the word rethink intentionally. So I'd like to finish by thanking you both, Laura Foraster from DIPLOCAT, for making this report possible, and also Eva Garcia for being here today, sharing the conclusions of the report. I hope everybody listening has has learned some new ideas, has taken something from this morning's first session, and is encouraged to continue working on this extremely important topic.
L'acte següent comença ja,
Please stay in the room. The next session is going to start in just a couple of minutes, as soon as the speakers can come to the front.